John Davys Beresford. An introduction. John Davys Beresford was born on 17th of March 1873. His life was blighted by infantile paralysis, which left him partially disabled. After an education at Oundle school, he trained to be an architect. However, he quickly decided that his life was to be centred on a literary career. His first offerings were in drama and as a journalist. As well as being a book reviewer for the Manchester Guardian, he contributed to New Statesman, the Spectator, Westminster Gazette and the Theosophist magazine, the Aryan Path. His spiritual journey in early adulthood had claimed him as an agnostic in defiance of his clergyman father. This view he later abandoned in preference to describing himself as a Theosophist and a pacifist. As well as many novels, many themed with spiritual and philosophical elements, Beresford was also a gifted short story writer, particularly across the science fiction, horror and ghost genres. All of these elements helped him to obtain a prominent place in Edwardian literary London. John Davys Beresford died on the 2nd of February 1947. He was 73.
The Looking Glass by J.D. Beresford. 1. This was the first communication that had come from her aunt in Rachel's lifetime. "I think your aunt has forgiven me at last," her father said as he passed the letter across the table. Rachel looked first at the signature. It seemed strange to see her own name there. It was as if her individuality, her very identity, was impugned by the fact that there should be two Rachel Deans. Moreover, there was a likeness between her aunt's autograph and her own, a characteristic turn in the looping of the letters, a hint of the same decisiveness and precision. If Rachel had been educated 50 years earlier, she might have written her name in just that manner. "You're very like her in some ways," her father said, as she still stared at the signature. Rachel's eyelids drooped and her expression indicated a faint, suppressed intolerance of her father's remark. He said the same thing so often and in so precisely the same tone that she had formed a habit of automatically rejecting the truth of certain of his statements. He had always appeared to her as senile. He had been over 50 when she was born, and ever since she could remember she had doubted the correctness of his information. She was, she had often told herself, a born sceptic, an ultra-modern. She had a certain veneration for the more distant past, but none of her father's period. Victorianism was to her a term of abuse. She had long since condemned alike the ethic and the aesthetic of the 19th century as represented by her father's opinions, so that even now, when his familiar comment coincided so queerly with her own thought, she instinctively disbelieved him. Yet, as always, she was gentle in her answer. She condescended from the heights of her youth and vigour to pity him. "I should think you must have almost forgotten what Aunt Rachel was like, dear," she said. "How many years is it since you've seen her?" More than 40, her father said, ruminating profoundly. "We disagreed. We invariably disagreed. Rachel always prided herself on being so modern. She read Huxley and Darwin and things like that, altogether beyond me, I admit. Still, it seems to me that the old truths have endured and will, in spite of all. Rachel straightened her shoulders and lifted her head. There was disdain in her face, but none in her voice as she replied, "And so it seems that she wants to see me." She was excited at the thought of meeting this traditional, this almost mythical aunt, whom she had so often heard about. Sometimes she had wondered if the personality of this remarkable relative had not been a figment of her father's imagination, long pondered and reconstructed out of half-forgotten material. But this letter of hers that now lay on the breakfast table was admirable in character.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?